Sweet. Okay, I think yeah, it's a good time to kick off. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today on the Masterclass webinar on team management. Um, my name is Charles from the customer success team, and with me today I have Albert, who's also from the customer success team that'll be looking after the Q&A box. So we will be taking in questions. There's a Q&A box at the bottom that you can type your questions in. And then we also have a guest speaker with us today. So we have Kimberly from Arthur Brown Construction, who will give us some insights on how they're currently using Tradify, also how they manage their team on the second half of the webinar. So that's something unique that we have for you guys today. But a few housekeeping rules. So as kind of mentioned, there's the Q&A box there on your guys' side. You can pop in questions and ask about any questions about Tradify, but we do ask that just try to keep it with the topic, so around team management. And we'll also have a Q&A session at the very end. So if we don't get to any of your questions during the webinar, we'll also reach out to you. This webinar is also recorded. To anyone and everyone that signed up, we will send you a recording once that's ready. Okay. And if you stay at the very end, there's a kind of nice survey that you can fill in. It'll give you the chance to win some exclusive merch from Tradify. Okay. Cool. So for today's session, so this is going to be revolving around team management, how you can use Tradify to manage your team effectively. But they also want to highlight the different tools that you can use in Tradify to make sure that your data is accurate, but also things that can help reduce admin time. So we'll go over some of the following. So firstly, we'll look at adding staff in, giving them the correct roles and how to set them up effectively in your Tradify account. Then we'll look at smart scheduling. So how to schedule staff in more effectively to stop any clashes and delays and avoid any scenarios where you might be double booking your staff in. The third part that we'll look at is around just profit tracking. So cost tracking within Tradify, so we can make sure that each of the jobs are actually profitable. And then in that part, we'll highlight specifically one of our plus features, the Smart Read AI function. And then we'll kind of wrap it all up by showing you how that goes into the invoicing process. And then the second half of the webinar, we'll hear from Kimberly with their experience with using Tradify. Cool. So let me just switch screens here really quickly. I'll just jump into the Tradify account. Cool. Okay, so this is my Tradify demo account. In this scenario, I'm a gardening and landscaping business. But let's start with the settings. So just head into settings here. And before we even jump into staff members, I want to look at billing rates first. So billing rates, as some of you may know, is anything that we charge at an hourly rate basis. So this is going to be really good if we charge out our employees at different rates. For example, I've got Fred here, who's at $70 an hour. But let's just say we've got Tony joining us very shortly, and he's charged out at $60 an hour. These billing rates here, this will actually play into the timesheets that the staff record. And it'll allow us to track the hours they spend on site, but also how much we should be charging to a customer. And then also I'll show you very shortly how we can record cost to the business. So once we have Tony and Fred's billing rates in there, we can go ahead and add Tony. New staff member, and we've actually got Tony Stark, the Iron Man himself, joining us in our crew. So Tony, just add their name and email address, and that's pretty much all you need to add a staff member in Tradify. And we'll send out an invitation to them through email, and then they can get set up and start using Tradify on the computer or even the mobile app. So they'll just use a single sign-on. Cool. And then at the bottom here, you'll see that billing rate. So it's good that we've set that up because then I can actually just allocate a default billing rate to Tony. So when he's doing his timesheets, then he doesn't need to pick different billing rates. He already knows what's going to be allocated to him. The standard pay rate here, so this is going to be how much you pay your staff or how much it costs you hourly for the work that they do. So let's just say for Tony here, it's $40. And this is what's going to be used when we're recording those timesheets. That's the cost that we're going to be recording against those jobs. In the middle here, nice and easy, the notifications. So it's how we're going to kind of let our employees know about the jobs and how they get those alerts. So you can configure this depending on your guys' setup, but the options is email and then through the mobile app as well. To the right is the staff permissions. So by default, they get access to timesheets and jobs. Cool. I do see Kyle's hand raised there. Kyle, if you've got a question, feel free to pop it into the Q&A box, and then Albert will be able to assist with that one. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So yeah, timesheets and job, they'll get that by default. What that basically means is they only see jobs that you allocate to them. And that part is important because as an admin, if you're entering a lot of jobs in the system, they actually won't see any of that until we allocate it, okay? But this is kind of where those staff permissions come in. So for example, if you got a staff member that you want to be doing quoting, or maybe you want them to record bills, then we could enable that for them. In the case where you also want to give your staff members the ability to see all your jobs in the system, or you want to give, for example, like a team leader, the ability to actually dispatch other people, then the scheduling and dispatch needs to be enabled. Let's just say for this case, I want to have more control around my jobs and personally allocate that to my staff members. So for Tony here, I'll disable the scheduling and dispatch, but I want him to be able to quote on site, for example, and also record any bills that that is incurred for the job. So let's go ahead and save that. Cool. So now that we have Tony in the system, let's go into the actual jobs. So head into jobs here. And before we even start a new job, I want to highlight the job templates. Job templates, as you may already know, is really good for the standardized jobs that you guys have. But it's also a great tool for kind of highlighting things that you want your staff members to record, or if you want to give them standardized set of tasks. So if we head to job templates here, I've made one already in the account. So I'll just show that. So here I've got my lawn mowing service template. Very nicely, it's just a name and then the description here. And under the plus plan, so if you're with the plus plan, you get the task, the job task. And this is a way for you to be more granular with those jobs that you're doing. You can set this up almost like a checklist of different things you do on the job. And these tasks are actually, it's possible to allocate these tasks when you're scheduling them. So for example, one day you want to dedicate it to hedging, for example, you could do that through the scheduler. We could also record costs against these tasks. So I guess this also helps around project management. So we can break down the job into these kind of different sections, which is super helpful when you've got a bigger job and you want to manage different stages of that. But I'll show all of that off very shortly as well. Then the bottom here as well, we've got notes. So we can actually create pre-made notes within a job template. Here, what I've done is I've just added a note for before and after photos. So in this case, I want my staff members to fill that in once they get on site. So at least it gives them some guidance around what you want them to add onto the job. And anything that's on here when we create a job from the template automatically flows into those jobs. I'll just show that. And to the jobs here. And just this arrow here, new job from template. Select that. And there we go. So the only part that's really required to get that job started is to add a customer. So I'm doing a lawn mowing service for Mr. Bill Moore here. And you'll notice here at the bottom as well, we've got those pre-made tasks. So let me just save this really quickly here. So these tasks, like I said, kind of work like a checklist. So you could actually tick task off as you're going along, or your staff members could do this from their side as well, from the mobile app. Then we also have a look at the notes. Oh, what have I done here? Yep, there we go. So that's the notes there. So this is all coming from those templates. So for your staff members, when they get on site, for example, it's nice and easy. They can find these notes already against the job. And then it's just a matter of them actually going in here and uploading a photo, for example. And the other feature I want to highlight here is the choose staff to notify. They could actually send a notification to a staff member pertaining to a specific note. And this will notify that staff member. So this is super good as a communication tool, because then it helps with letting maybe admins know of important notes or documents that get uploaded against the job. Okay. Okay, so now that we've got that job card here, now let's allocate that to our staff members. So the first one here that I want to highlight is there's two ways that we can do that. Either we allocate them down here or we allocate it through an appointment. And the main difference there is if we allocate it down here, we can actually allocate it to the staff members in the case where we don't have an appointment in mind yet for this job. But at least that way, our staff members can have a clear outlook on the different jobs that you have lined up for them. Okay, so simple as pressing the plus button there. Then we can add Fred and Tony there. And that once they get added to here, that's at the point that they actually can see this particular job from their side. The other way as well is what I mentioned here is the new appointment. And you'll notice here, so we've got a few different views. What I like to use for bigger teams is this hamburger view here. It'll give you a look at the different calendars of each of your staff members. And you can actually filter this. So if, for example, you just want to see Fred's calendar, we can just untick that, then retick any of them. Okay. You'll notice here as well, we have one of our newer features. This is the unassigned calendar. So this is going to be super helpful when you're doing a bit of planning or forecasting. You could actually create appointments under the unassigned calendar to kind of plan ahead. Your staff won't see this particular appointment yet, but it allows you to kind of pre-plan your weeks or months in advance, so you get a nice roadmap of those different jobs. But to schedule people in, it's nice and easy. Let's just say I want to book Fred and Tony in for tomorrow for this job. Click on a time slot. Let's just say from 10 to 11:30. I want both Fred and Tony to be working on this job. The note section here, this is completely internal. So the customer won't see these internal notes. So this could be another communication tool that you guys could use. And it could be as simple as like, beware of the dogs. Something like that. I'm sure they're friendly, but you never know. Then because we have tasks against those jobs, we could actually be a bit more specific with our scheduling as well. Now we do also have communications for customers as well. So this is going to be within your control, whether you want to send them an email confirmation and also text messages. Just go ahead and save that. And you'll notice there, that's all in there. And if we ever need to move it around or reschedule it, it's as simple as picking it up and dragging it along like that. Or if we ever need to extend it, we could do so as well. Cool. Let's just head back into that job card. And very nicely, we keep a record of all those different appointments that you're doing. So nothing ever gets through the cracks. You could revisit a job and know when you went on site. So that would be all kept within the job card. The other thing I do want to highlight as well here, you'll notice that we've got these job statuses. You could actually create your own job statuses as well. That could really help with kind of managing those bigger jobs as you move them along to different stages. And again, it's a good, effective communication tool between yourself as an admin and also your team members on site. And if you ever want to make your own ones, just head into settings here, jobs, and job statuses. And we can just make one there. One that I've personally made is final check here. So final check essentially letting the admin know that the job is done. Just have a look at all the details and to see if it's ready to be invoiced. So you can really kind of play around with it, personalize Tradify a bit more to your guys' workflow to kind of come up with those different job statuses. Just head back to that job. So this one here is already scheduled because I've assigned that to the team. So that part actually there is automated. The other thing I also want to highlight here, and I think is pretty underrated, is the to-do list. So this to-do list here, it's a bit better for those kind of general tasks that you have. So if there might be something that's not job related, it could be like head into plant barn to replenish stock. You could actually assign these to-do lists to your staff members as well. And we can save that. And it's a nice, checklist within your account. And then if you assign that to a staff member, they can see that from their side as well. Once we have that to-do list in there, you could also actually add that in as appointment into their calendar so they see that all within their scheduler. Let's head to the scheduler here for the moment. So in the theme of team management, I'm sure there'll be times where your staff members need some holiday leave or sick days, that sort of stuff. We could actually manage that from the scheduler as well. So I'll just head into the monthly view here. So let's just say Tony here, he's applied for some leave at the end of the month. We can pop that into the scheduler by just pressing on a calendar slot. And let's say he's going to be away for last week of the month. All we really need to put here is his name and then just add a note. Annual leave. And this is going to help you stay on track of your staff members' schedules, so you don't end up double booking anyone, or you can plan ahead and see who's going to be available during those weeks and those times. And yeah, by keeping your team's schedule clear and consistent, this will kind of really help reduce the back and forth while also avoiding any delays in booking. And this ensures that each team member has a clear idea of where they need to be, but also what you need them to do through those different tasks. Okay. I'll just head back to the job card here. So once they're allocated to that task, let's just say it's time for them to do the work. From their side, your team members will primarily see the job, the notes, the time, and the costs here. Invoices, quotes, and bills, that sort of stuff, that will only be visible on their side if they have the right permissions. But let's just start with notes, for example. Again, we have those pre-made notes, but essentially I can just come in here and upload files. Say I want to upload some before photos, and then also photos of the work that I've done. It's actually super handy on the mobile app because the notes section, when you add a photo, it'll actually just open up the camera itself. So as they're taking photos, that's automatically uploading against the note in Tradify, so nothing ever gets lost. Just make sure that you are saving the note, and then that'll capture all of that and keep it all inside the job card. Next thing that we can capture for our team members is their timesheets. So through the mobile app, they can also log their timesheets, and there's two ways to do this. One, we could use the timer, where to get on site, I'll start the timer. And if it's for a specific task, for example, you can start that. And just say, for example, we stop that, you'll see there's automatic timesheet entry. The other way is a nice and simple manual entry. So Tony here, let's just say it's tomorrow, and he's already done the job from 10 to 11:30, and that's the hedging. And you'll notice there that it's defaulted to Tony's billing rate. So that's why it's super important to kind of get them all set up, accurately from the very start, because then that really reduces any errors in the system and just make sure everything is accurate. So I'll add that there. So I'll delete this one just for the sake of demonstration. But you'll see here, we'll keep a record of the hours that they spent on site. This cost area here, so that's going to be that pay rate that we introduced in the beginning when we set them up. That allows you to see how much it's costing you as a business for the hours that they spend on site. And then the charges will be made up from that billing rate that we set up as well. So all this really goes into, plays a part when we're tracking that profitability side of it. And then also we can record cost. So cost here, this is going to be for anything, materials, expenses, travel, that sort of stuff. So we can use a price list. If you have a price list or a materials list within your Tradify account, then you could add and search for those materials. Or you could use a miscellaneous cost here. So pretty much anything, manual entry, we can add that into Tradify. But what I want to highlight here specifically is we can actually capture costs from a bill as well. By bills, we mean here like the supplier invoices, or when you go out to suppliers on the fly and buy materials, we can actually put that into Tradify, and we can allocate costs against the job. So there's a few ways to do this. We could do it by manual entry, or if you get provided by a CSV file, for example, from your supplier, we could also upload that into Tradify. But what I want to go into here is what we call Smart Read, and that's just highlighted at the top here. This is one of our AI tools, and again, at the moment, this is exclusive to our Plus plan, Plus subscription. But essentially, all you need from your suppliers is either the supplier invoice PDF itself or a photo of the receipt. So let's go new PDF. Let's just say, let's see if I got that barn here. And you just upload the actual invoice. And what the system's doing at the moment is it's reading those line items in that invoice so that you don't have to type that all in, because that's going to take some time. Say you got a big supplier invoice, you bought out a lot of materials for the job. That's going to take some time if you're doing that manually. So we can take advantage of that Smart Read AI tool. And you'll see here, it's created those line items there for me. To give you an idea as well of what I uploaded, something like this. And we'll keep that on record, so that'll stay within Tradify as well. Because it is still done by AI and done by the computer, we do just recommend that you double check the actual numbers once they're in there. Sometimes there could be a bit of variance and you might see some discrepancy depending on the actual layout of the file that you uploaded or the photo that was taken. But from here, say I'm happy with this, all the numbers look good to me. I can go ahead and approve that. So it's also at this point that a kind of pop-up window will come up. Say, do you want to apply a markup to these materials? So this is going to be really good for your charge-out work. If you just want to apply a blanket, let's say 50% to the materials that we bought that we're going to charge to the customer. So let's just say copy the bill. And if we head back to the job itself, you'll find those different costs recorded. Okay. And we can go even a step further here, and we can actually allocate these specific costs against those tasks as well. And this is going to play a part when we're tracking those different costs per task or different stages of the job. Because if we head to the job here and go to task, you'll see there that for my hedging, this is the actual cost that I've incurred. If it was a quoted job, you do have the ability to assign a unit cost at the point when you're quoting, and then that'll show up as well in your estimated cost. So it allows you to see kind of difference between what you estimated versus what you're actually spending on the job. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to highlight in terms of cost tracking. Again, this is going to be super important as a business because we want to make sure each job is profitable. And by accurately tracking time and costs, this ensures that we can invoice the customer accurately. And this will also reduce the admin time because we're giving our staff members the ability to record these details from their side. So let's just say they've entered all their hours in there, and maybe we just want to do a final check. If I ever change the status, this will update in real time as well from the admin's perspective. So anyone that's not even on site can actually see these details about the job. And when we're looking at our jobs list, it's going to be super nice and easy what those to find what job is at a certain stage, so we can kind of filter through what's currently active. So let's just say I'm happy with all those details as the admin. Everything looks good. We've got our cost, our time, and our notes all recorded. So maybe I just want to invoice this for now. I can change it to an invoice status. This is going to be helpful, for example, if you like to invoice at the end of the week or something like that. You could keep jobs in the to invoice status, so you get a nice list of the different jobs that you can create an invoice for. Essentially, the last part here is to invoice it. Cool. So there's a few options at the top here. So in this case, if it's a charge out job, I'm going to use that time and materials from job. You'll notice here as well, I can create an invoice just based on those different tasks. So again, for those larger jobs, if you're doing a bit more progress invoicing, you could actually invoice just on those different tasks based on the time spent and also the materials that's recorded. If you are doing quoted work, and we have a from quote option here, which pretty much just converts your quote into an invoice so that can be billable to your customer. Okay, so let's just say I want to invoice specifically just for that task. Go in there, and you'll see there it's just taken all the labor hours that I have and also the different materials and costs that I've recorded into an invoice. And we could actually preview that as well. But before we do any of that, I'll just go ahead and approve it. And it's also at this point that we can send this to the customer. But before we send it, I want to show you guys our job service report, what we call JSRs. So if we just head back to a job, more section here, you'll find the job service report. Again, this is one of the features in the Plus plan, and it essentially provides you with an official document of the details about the job that can help with providing proof of work to your clients. Sometimes jobs might need proof of work that needs to get signed off by the client, just to say, okay, we've done this work. As a client, you're happy with it. You can get that signed off. So I'll just show you how to create that. The job service report and new job service report. And you'll see there, it carries over all the details we already have from the job. Okay, so we've got our descriptions, our task here, and also our labor hours and materials, and then as well as the notes. So if there's anything that you don't want shown here, you could actually customize it. So for example, I want to hide my materials, I want to hide my task, but I want to show my timesheets to the customer so they know when we were there, and also the photos that I took on site. You can then preview this, and I'll show you what that can look like. There we go. So it's created for me there an official document that can be sent to the customer. So here's the photos that I took. So there's the after photos and the before photos. If we're happy with that, we pretty much just approve that. And it's at this point as well that we can send this to the customer and they can accept and decline. But on site as well, you can get a sign off through the mobile app. But in this case, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to attach this to my invoice. Go back to the invoice here. And then when I'm sending that to the customer, just this paper airplane, I go attach files, and you'll notice here there's an option. Let me just scroll down a bit for you. There's an option there to attach job service report for this particular job. And at a press of a button, that'll take that job service report and then just add it to the email. Then essentially, once we're happy with that, go ahead and send that. And now it's just a matter of waiting for the customer to pay. But once that's all paid, essentially, we can come in here and close off the job once that is completed. Okay. And once that's completed, that'll still stay in your Tradify account. And you can always revisit that. But it's a good habit to get into to putting the jobs as completed, because then it'll actually remove it from our active jobs so that we can focus on the jobs that are still in progress or that have been scheduled. So it's just all about keeping a nice, tidy account so nothing ever gets lost. As I kind of mentioned as well, just say complete that. If we go back to your jobs list here, you'll see that I only have those active jobs, but it's always possible to have a look at our completed ones and revisit that should it be required. Cool. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to cover off today, just in terms of the live walkthrough. I hope that you guys learned a few nice tips and tricks and saw a few features that you might not be using yet within Tradify. But if you have any questions, pop them through into the Q&A box there, and we'll have a look at them through the Q&A section as well. But for our next session here, we will have our guest speaker, Kimberly. Again, Kimberly is from the Arthur Brown construction team, and she'll be taking us through how they use Tradify. Give me a sec here, Kim. Let me just switch some slides. Cool. Yeah, I guess, Kim, do you want to start off just by introducing yourself and telling us about the business?
Sure. So, can everyone hear me? Just make sure that's working. Perfect.
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, I'm Kim. I have worked at Arthur Brown Construction for a year and a half. We are a construction company, but we also have a kitchen and a aluminium joinery division as well. So my side of it, we manage a team of 14 builders. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it.
Cool. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you joining us for today. I know it's a bit late in the evening, but I appreciate you staying up.
Fine. It's not
So
past my bedtime yet.
so I do have a few questions for you. I
Yep.
guess we'll start off with the question now. I know you do a lot of the scheduling and the job entry and invoicing for your busy team.
Yep.
Talk us through what that typical day looks like and how does Tradify fit all into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I actually do when I get to work is check the schedule.
Mhm.
Taranaki weather is so unpredictable, so I'm forever chopping and changing the schedule on the fly.
Yep.
And people ring up sick and whatnot. So that's the first thing I do is I'm shifting jobs around, shifting people around, and Tradify makes it 10 times easier by just being able to slide it across. I deal with all the incoming phone calls and emails for quote requests. So
Mhm.
I schedule my boss in if he's going to do the site visit or myself. I set up the customer, I set up the quote. He does the quoting, I send it off.
Mhm.
I'm doing the invoicing, I'm doing the timesheets for payroll. I'm doing a lot with it. It's my day.
Oh,
It's
no,
it's
that's
it's
really
the
good to
main
hear.
hub of my day.
Nice. No, that's really good to hear that it's kind of helping you kind of manage your day and get those, day-to-day tasks completed. And in our previous kind of conversations, you did mention a particular project that you guys were working on around the Maori school where you couldn't go on
Yes.
site. Can you share kind of how, Tradify helped with staying connected with the team, even though you were in the office, and how you kept that job running smoothly?
Yeah, absolutely. So, usually I would jump in my car and just drive down to a site. This
Mm,
time being a bit unique, I wasn't able to do that, and the major project management team for that job was dominantly female.
mm,
So it was good. Our boys could upload photos. The subcontractors could give the photos to the boys and they can upload them.
mm.
It was even real handy if they had a technical issue. I couldn't be down there to help them, obviously, so I'd ask them to upload a photo of what was wrong, and then we could work it out. Um, and yeah, because it was a huge job too, a lot of progress happened. It was real cool to
Mm.
be able to share those photos without me even going there with the wider team as well. Yeah,
Nice. No, that's really good. And I think that's super important, just, having that single platform that
yeah,
everyone can collaborate within.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, because you did mention in the past as well that you were using, four different systems, and I could imagine what that structure would look like.
It was
But
horrible.
yeah, yeah, talk me through that. What was that like, and what was your biggest relief once you kind of moved into a single platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were using four different programs, one for invoicing, one for quoting, one for
Mm,
scheduling our staff, and then one different one for scheduling subcontractors,
hmm.
and then also manual paper timesheets, honestly, nightmare.
Yeah.
Um, so when I went into it, I was like, this is taking up way too much of my day, and I do quite a lot of my day, and I just wasn't efficient. So
Yep.
I did a bit of research and found Tradify. I convinced the directors, me and one of my colleagues, to give it a go. And here we are now. My day is in half, and I've taken on more stuff that I can do. So it's actually, yeah, having everything in one place has been a game changer.
Wait, no, that's really really awesome to hear. And then our past conversation as well, you mentioned that you wish that you use purchase orders more in Tradify. Talk
Yes.
me through that workflow and kind of what difference has it made for you and the team?
Yeah, so we are no longer double ordering stuff.
Ah, nice.
Beforehand, we would actually just call or email our suppliers,
Mm,
but it kind of got a bit tricky because I'd order something or the boys would order something or my boss would order something and it's all the
yep.
same stuff. So at least on Tradify, we can see what's been ordered when it's been ordered. And then even better, when we get the supply invoice, we can just attach that straight to that purchase order and everything's just on the job. And oh, so good.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine it'd be pretty hectic if like three trucks pulled into the job site, all bringing the
Yeah,
same stuff.
we were forever returning stuff to Bunnings. Oh my goodness. They hated me.
Um, cool. Yeah, no, really appreciate that insight. I guess, looking ahead and kind of seeing what Tradify has to offer with those additional features. You mentioned wanting to bring in the job task and using Smart Read a bit more. What
Yeah.
excites you specifically about those features?
Yeah, so Smart Read, since our last conversation, we've actually started using it. I was just
Nice.
going to bite the bullet and get it done. So beforehand, we were manually entering every single supplier invoice that came in. It drove me mental,
Wow. Yep.
especially if it was a charge up job, because the invoice wasn't there right away for me to be able to charge it out.
Right.
So that has obviously saved our admin lady a lot of time and a lot of paper, no longer printing everything out.
Hmm.
Job tasks is going to be amazing for us because we're going to start doing payment claims because we've got quite a few big school jobs coming up. So with that, we can have tasks set up for each stage of each project and
Nice.
then
Yes.
charge out as that happens instead of me trying to work out percentages at the end of every month. And I'm no good at math. So, this is helping me so much.
Oh, okay. No, that's really good to hear. But yeah, that's kind of the questions I had for you today. Again, thank you
Absolutely.
very much for joining us. I'm sure everyone in the audience found great insight and your experience with Tradify. Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing your journey. What we'll do now is we'll kick off to the let me go back a little bit to our Q&A section. So we have some questions in the Q&A box here. And for the audience there, feel free to put in some questions if you have some questions for Kim specifically. We'll try our best to get through all of them, but let's just have a look at some of the ones that's been asked here. Mm, Cool. So a good question here from Charlotte. Can you give people access to jobs without the ability to add and edit them? So for staff members, um, if they're a standard user in the account, they will have the ability to edit that. We also have what we call a no access user. So uh, it doesn't necessarily give them access to Tradify, but you can still schedule them in and they can see those jobs through email, for example, when you do allocate them. So that's something potentially that might work, but I guess it really just depends on the circumstance. Great. So there's another good question here from Rob. So he asked, does notifications work for an external connection to send photos and notes? So currently, we treat subcontractors or connections kind of differently from your standard user within Tradify. So connections actually can't upload any photos or job details against your account, but we can still send them the job details as well as the actual schedule. So that's probably the biggest difference between a standard user and a connection. Okay, let's have a look here. But hey, Albie, do you see any questions there that might be directed more at Kim?
Yeah, I'm just having a look here. Oh, yeah. So we just have a question here for you, Kim. This question is just asking, how do you handle sub trades and scheduling them in? Do you just add them to your schedule and then ring them to confirm, or are they good in confirming their appointments prior to the site appointment?
Oh yeah, so I've got my subbies on a tight leash. So when we got Tradify, I invited absolutely every single one of them to it and said, "Accept this, please. Otherwise, you're not working for me." Nah, just kidding. But no. So when I've got a subby that I need on site at a particular day or time, I just schedule them as a connection in the scheduler. They get a notification, and they 95% of the time accept it. Just got to be firm with them.
Yeah, 100%. And just to show everyone kind of what Kim's talking about there. So in Tradify, we have a connections section here. And this is how you go about adding your subcontractors in, so that way you could include them into your scheduler and also pass on those job details. And all we really need from them is an email address, and then they get an invitation to be part of the team.
We do also have another question here for you, Kim. It's just question asking how you manage variations on a job while doing progress payments.
Yeah, so that's something I was going to talk to the Tradify peeps about because we do quite a lot of variation, so I understand the question completely. At the moment, under each job, we are quoting variations singly, and then when we go to do the payment claims, we charge those specific quotes out, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
Yep. I think that's all for the questions directed for you, Kim, at the moment.
Sweet. Cool.
Yeah, so there's a good question there from Shannon. So once you allocate labor to a task, how do you see the actual hours spent on that task? One of the things that we can actually do in Tradify, you could export your timesheets. And from when you export a timesheet, there's actually a task column in there. It'll show you the exact task that they worked on and how many hours they spent on there. Yeah, cool. Here's a unique one from Tanya. So they want to set up all their diggers and trucks in Tradify. So they want to know what machines are available versus maybe one's out in the shop or one's on site. We actually have the no access user for that. So that's actually the reason it was originally made, is for equipment. So you could add your machinery or your vehicles as no access users, which allow you to add them into your scheduler and kind of see what jobs they're currently on or what they're being used for. And that just helps kind of track your different equipment in Tradify. So provides you with that clarity. But to add a no access user, essentially that's still in your settings here. Go to staff members, and if you add a staff member, or if there's an existing one, there's a no access toggle down here. Let's have a look at the ones. Cool. Nice one here from Charlotte. Is there any development in the background on statuses updating automatically when an invoice is raised or when that is paid? So currently with around invoices, if you're integrated with the accounting software Xero, we'll be able to see when that invoice is paid. But unfortunately, at this point, that doesn't talk to the actual status yet. But that is super good feedback, and we're definitely raise that with our wider team. Cool. So that question came from Tanya again there around connections. Is it better to make people a connection because it's free? That'll really depend on your situation, right? The biggest defining factor there is going to be whether you want to give them the ability to enter things into Tradify for you, right? So if you need them to upload photos and enter timesheets, that sort of stuff, then they would need to be that standard staff user. But if it's a case where, for example, it's a subcontractor, you need to tell them you need them for that job, then that would be better fit as a connection.
Just have another question here for you, Kim. When you upload supplier invoices and are using the new bill and smart read feature, what then happens to the purchase order that you create? This customer is currently just editing the purchase order to match the supplier invoice, then marking it as billed.
Oh, that is a good question. So I'm not the one that actually does the billing side of it. That's the girl that I work with. So not actually 100% sure what happens. So maybe one of you guys can answer that one for me.
Here.
Charles, are you gonna take that one?
I'm looking for the question.
Okay.
Here.
Well, while you're looking for that, we do actually have another one for you here, Kim. When you do purchase orders, I know that you don't really do that side, but the question here is, when you do purchase orders, do you load up the stock items? For example,
Yeah,
like your
so
supplier price list.
yeah, we've got all our supplier price lists already loaded in Tradify. So I do the purchase orders, I just don't bill them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. So that was yeah. So when using new bill and smart read, what happens to the purchase order? Yeah. So actually, when you, for example, you create the PO first, and you have that against the job card, and then you get the supplier invoice. If you record it through smart read, for example, you could still link it to the actual PO. Let's go ahead into that job again. We have that linked purchase order field here. So if you kind of want to make that connection between the original PO and the bill that was actually sent to you, would recommend probably using this field here. You can search for the PO that was created. Yeah, so there's a great question here from Craig. So can we give staff members access to record job quantities without seeing all the financial stuff? And yes, you can. So for staff members, if they don't have let's just go in here, I'll show that. Reports and financials, staff members can't actually see any of your financial detail within the job. They could still record how many materials they use in terms of quantity and how much they bought it for, but in terms of all the other financial stuff, they won't be able to see any of that. Cool. Okay, so we do have a few questions here. Again, if we can't get to your questions today, we're more than happy to reach out. Tania here again, what is the charge for no access profile users? So right now for AU and NZ, it's $11 for a no access user. So it's at a reduced cost for not having full access to the Tradify account. Cool. Another nice one there from Kyle. So is there an ability to give admin access to change the job status to complete? So as in only admins can add that or change the status to complete. At the moment, don't currently have that, but more than happy to pass that on as feedback again. Cool. I'm just being mindful of the time that we do have. What I'll do now is I'll just go back to the slides that we have because we have a beautiful survey for you guys. Again, if we kind of miss some of your questions, we have them on record and we'll get in touch directly to answer some of them. But